Now, there are several ways to add depth to your images when you're out shooting. But what if you're done shooting and you realize in Lightroom that your images are lacking depth and a little bit of pop? Well, there is one little hack I'm using for almost every image I edit in Lightroom, and it takes only about 1 minute per image, and you can even copy the effect to all the other images and can save a lot of time, and you have a really huge impact on your images. So give me just like 3 or 4 minutes and I will show you how to turn this image to this image. Alright, let's jump right into Lightroom. I already imported 3 images. The first one is from Lofoten in Norway. The second one is from Top of the Rocks in New York City. And the last one is just a basic portrait of myself. As you can see, I already did the basic correction for all of the images. So I added some contrast, I did the highlights and the shadows, I adjusted the exposure, the clarity, I did the basic color correction and color grading, I added some sharpening. I don't want to go into too much detail concerning my basic corrections. What I want to show you today is more like this very simple hack which I'm using for a lot of images of mine. As you can see, it already looks quite nice. It has some contrast, you have some darker areas here, some darker areas here, and like this is a brighter area. But I think we can make it a little bit more prominent and add a little bit more focus to the center part of this image. So what I usually do is adding mask. And the first mask I'm using is the radial mask. And first of all, you should analyze where the light is coming from. So I think the sun was somewhere here and shining down here to this small village. So that's basically what you want to do with the mask, is painting the sunlights. And I'm making this image very small, and I'm starting here with a very big mask like this, so it's very subtle. Alright, what we can do now is add a little bit of exposure in that area, reduce a little bit the contrast because it's a light and it reduces initially the contrast. We will add some haze coming from that area, reducing a little bit of the structure, and make the shadows a little bit stronger. Yeah, that's all right. Maybe a little bit of saturation in that area. That looks already good, I guess. Let's see if we can, yeah. Maybe a little bit of warmth because it's the sun shining in there. So we can also add a little bit of color contrast, which fits quite well. We have some yellow and red tones here, and then we have the very dark tones around here. So the next thing I want to do is adding a linear mask. In this case, I will add 2 linear masks. The first one is from down here, and we will reduce the exposure in this area. Remove the lights, the shadows a little bit. Not too much. You also want to check that you don't have like any clipped shadows, so no black, pure black areas. That's quite important. Add a little bit of white again for this small waves here, which is nice. Okay. And we add a second linear mask, which is coming down from here. We also reduce again the highlights, the exposure a little bit, and remove a little bit of haze, like this. All right, I think this one is a little bit too dark. I'm going to remove it a little bit like this. All right, I think that's already not too bad. As you can see, if we switch out the mask and switch them on again, there's a lot more focus to the village, and we could add a little bit more depth. And also leading the eye, like the eye starts at the brightest point of the image, which is right here, and then it wanders to the darker sides or darker areas of the image. All right, just to see for the overall, that's what I usually do at the end. Just the overall exposure a little bit. Can make it even a little bit darker, so it's a very moody image, and maybe can make it a little bit the faded look here in the darker parts. Yeah, that's already how I like it. It's a very simple trick. Just add the mask and you can have a really nice effects like this. Let's move on to the next image, and once again we will do the same as before. We will add a radial mask. Light is coming from here, sun is somewhere here and shining towards the houses over here. So we do a very big mask again, like this. Go back to big and add exposure, a little bit of warmth, add a little bit of haze, reduce the clarity, and add more light like this. All right. Now we add the second mask, the linear mask. Add it from this side, as here are coming the shadows from. Make it big again and reduce the exposure. Depth. Make it a little bit cooler in this area. So we have a nice color contrast going from warmer colors to the darker colors. And add the clarity and remove a little bit of dust. All right, that's already it for the basic correction. You can always go further into detail and like paint the shadows darker and paint in for the highlights, make them brighter. But for like a very simple and fast way to add more contrast and more depth into your picture, this is a very simple and quick way to do it. Now the last one. And once again, we will do a radial mask. A light was standing here, shining down to my face. So right now we will do a radial mask like this. Make it bigger again. Increase the exposure. Add a little bit of haze. Reduce the clarity. All right. And the second mask, the linear mask going down from here, just the opposite side of the light. Reduce the exposure a little bit. More black. All right. Boom. That's it. So you can see it gives a very nice gradient from the brighter part of the image going down to a darker part of the image. I think it will add a lot more depth to the image than it was before. Alright, that's already it. As you can see, a very easy and fast but impactful way to improve your images and to add a little bit pop and a little bit more depth. I really hope you liked that video, found some value, and I hope I see you in the next one. See you.